Welcome to Crimewatch UK, your chance to join the fight against crime.
And fighting back has been much in the news lately, and of course, criminals never know how people will react.
We've run out of petrol. You can see that. Getting more on the floor than in the car.
That was on the Thursday afternoon. Same time next day, less than half a mile away, at Collier's Jewellers.
Hello, you two. Still open?
Oh, hello. It's been so manic today.
Don't complain.
I'm not complaining. It's been great to see everybody before Christmas.
Hello, Wendy. You all right?
Yeah, good, thanks, Alan. Down for a cuppa, though.
Oh, well, come on through. We're just going to talk about you, Alan.
Yes, OK.
That sounds interesting.
Just seems to want to pick up tomorrow.
You'd be glad of a rest then, won't you?
Well, we've been running the shop about 20 years now. Yeah. We enjoy it, don't we? And customers are great, so it's just a nice family business that we like to be here. They were all dressed the same. It was just daunting to see three of them. He's screaming at me to lie on the floor and get down, and he's screaming at the dogs, which are then barking round him. We have 3 dogs. It was just so frightening.
Lie down! Get out! Lie down on the floor!
Marion, he wants you to get down on the floor.
Get out and get away from me!
Get down on the floor!
Get out of my shop! Get out!
From me!
Get out! Get out of my shop! Get out!
All we wanted to do was get him out of the shop, so Alan physically was pushing him to get out of the shop.
Get him back on the floor! Get down on the floor! Get out! Get out! Get out! Hit it! Get him!
Apart from the wound to his head, Alan's hand was almost sliced in half.
Get out!
Just looking up and seeing the second blow coming down, and I just had to put my hand up. Otherwise, I think I'd probably got it on the side of the neck or something like that. You know, from where
That
it was.
doesn't bear thinking about, does it?
No.
Get out! Get out!
Call the police!
Get out! Get out! Get out! Go!
After that, I don't remember too much about it.
He's
to be quite
blanked it out
It's all
because
gone
he
blank.
still has nightmares over it.
You just don't know what you're going to do at all. I'm certainly not brave. I mean, thinking about it now, it was probably stupid, but you just don't know how you're going to react.
Get out! Get out! Get out of the car!
Having failed in the robbery and failed to hijack a car, the swordsman fled, pursued by the Collier's Jack Russell, Bud.
But the other 2 dogs are quite lost, aren't they, without him? So it's part of the family, isn't it? And to think that he's going to go
10 years is a long time.
in those circumstances, it's not good, is it? So we miss him.
A motorist gave chase, but lost them.
Well, if it wasn't for our customers being so great, and all the support that they've given us, and popping in to see us every day at some stage, I think we'd have given it up. I think we'll carry on. Yeah, just for a little bit longer. Yeah, I don't want them to think that they've pushed us out.
Oh.
So we'll stop here for a bit longer.
And they are stopping there, though. In order to do so, they spent a small fortune on improving security. DS John Cass is in charge of the investigation. Alan, of course, managed to unmask that guy. One of the women got a reasonable look. It was only a glance at him. How confident are you about the artist's impression?
Well, the witness tells us she's very confident that the artist's impression is actually a very good likeness.
And what else do you know about him? Height, accent, weight?
We've got that he's a white male. He's got very short blonde hair, believed to be in his 20s, between 5'7" and 5'8" inches tall.
Accent?
It's no noticeable accent.
So he's probably from the northwest of England.
Yes, that's what we believe.
Manchester or somewhere around there. Silver Volvo S60 was seen speeding away.
Yes.
You then discovered a burnt-out Volvo S60, which had been stolen from the Oldenshire area of Manchester. Tell us about that and how viewers could help.
That's right. The vehicle was stolen in the early hours of the previous Wednesday morning, and the vehicle has obviously got to have been somewhere between that time and the time that it was found on the following Sunday. So we need to know where that vehicle has been and whether who's been in it.
Given the fact these guys are prepared to use those swords, yeah, I assume they've done stuff before, and I suppose the danger is these guys are going to do it again until they're shot.
Absolutely, it's a very violent act, and Mr. Collier is very lucky to have received the injuries he's had rather than something more serious.
Yeah, to hit someone on the head with the blade of the sword, not even flat, they just went for his head. It's incredibly lucky.
Absolutely, and it's very vicious, and we would appeal to anybody. Family, friends, anybody who may know them, to come forward. People can be eliminated. There has been DNA recovered, and we would like to hear from anybody that could assist us.
OK, well, if you think you can help, for God's sake, give us a call, please, before somebody gets hurt by this. As you've heard, Alan Collier could easily have been killed in that attack. 0500 600 600. Or you can call the Instant Room in Bamber Bridge, which is on a Preston number, 01772 415 744.
Also on tonight's programme, the biggest ever hunt for a serial rapist. We've got the clues. Tell us his name. Another sex attack, but of a very different kind. Not a dirty dozen, but a drug-dealing dozen. Help us find them.
And who made their getaway in one of these after stealing a fortune's worth of these?
We've had some excellent developments on our appeals, thanks to Crimewatch viewers. First, the tragic murder in Watford on Christmas Day. Christopher Mason was walking home when he was punched to the ground by a stranger. He never regained consciousness.
We stayed with him till the end, and we saw him after he died, and he did look relieved that his ordeal was over. But of course ours wasn't.
As a direct result of the appeal, a key witness contacted the studio. It led to a man being arrested and charged with Christopher's murder. He's now in custody, awaiting trial. But detectives would very much like to speak to the girl on the mobile phone seen here. If it's you, or if you know her, please come forward. She's very important to the inquiry.
Earlier this month, you may recall, we appealed about a bank robbery in Rusholme, South Manchester. It was a very serious crime. It involved firearms, and a member of the staff was kidnapped.
If there's nothing else that you need to raise, that's it. That's the end of the briefing.
Following important additional information which came into the studio that night, last week around 100 officers executed search warrants at 8 addresses at Manchester and 1 in Nottingham. 13 people were arrested, 4 have now been charged with the offence.
Stanley Davis was wanted in connection with alleged sex offences on a child. We can't show you his picture tonight for legal reasons. Stanley Davis heard he was on Crimewatch and handed himself in at his local police station and now awaits trial.
Also from our last programme, some good news and some bad news about Peppy, the stolen parrot, the much-loved pet of Terry McLaughlin. 2 men were arrested on the night of the programme as a direct result of viewers' calls, and one of them has been charged with theft. The bad news is that Peppy has not been found, and it's thought he may well be dead.
Finally, some progress from October last year concerning the ancient Rollright stones in Oxfordshire.
Well, we know the stone circle itself is at least 4,000 years old.
Somebody had thrown yellow paint over them, causing hundreds of thousands of pounds worth of damage. Thanks in part to Crimewatch, a man has been arrested.
Now is a chance to bring some more people to justice with Chief Superintendent Jeremy Payne and PC Jonathan Morrison.
We've 6 faces to show you now. They're wanted for crimes ranging from armed robbery to fraud. This is Stephen Jackson. He's believed to be part of a gang that's been carrying out armed robberies on cash deliveries to banks and building societies. They've been happening across London and the home counties. Stephen Jackson is 52. He's very tall at 6'3" and has long blonde hair. He was last reckoned to be in the Lee Green area of southeast London, but he may have left and gone to mainland Europe.
Another tall man now. Police in Merseyside have been investigating allegations of corruption within the force. As a result, they want to talk to Warren Pearson. He has a very distinctive appearance. He's 28, 6 foot tall, medium build and has dark brown hair. The top of his left ear is missing, giving him the nickname Arthur because he only has half an ear. Warren Pearson's known to spend time in the Netherlands and Spain, so look out for him if you're travelling.
David Alsumdar is facing serious charges about an immigration scam, but was given bail and failed to turn up at court. He's also known by the name of Kwarteng Owusu. He's 5'9", of medium build and sometimes wears glasses. David Alsumdar is well-spoken, well-known in the Ghanaian community and maybe in the Rotherhithe area of southeast London.
Kent police would like to help track down this man, William Stevenson, who was last known living near Maidstone. He failed to appear in court where he's facing 11 counts of indecency against young boys. He's 5'8" with blue eyes and light brown hair. William Stevenson has a false right leg and owns properties in Spain on the Costa Brava.
Joseph Oduguwa is wanted in connection with a £600,000 fraud against the NHS and he's currently on the Metropolitan Police Most Wanted list. He's 6 foot with brown eyes, a stocky build and a distinctive scar across his forehead. Joseph Oduguwa was last known in the Vauxhall area of South London, but he may be in Nigeria. So keep a lookout if you're going there.
Have you seen Sky Smith? West Midlands police are investigating a £74,000 deception. It happened a year ago in a high street bank in Perry Bar, Birmingham, but we haven't been able to trace her since. Sky Smith also uses the name Tamara Chikonda or Tamara Nugira and may originally be from Malawi. She's in her mid-20s, about 5'8", medium to large build, and at that time had red and burgundy extensions in her hair.
0500 600 600 if you can help with any of these cases.
Our next case started off as a robbery, but then became something much worse. To protect the identity of the victim, we've cast an actor in our reconstruction who looks completely different.
5 FM 198 Longwave and digital radio. This is BBC Radio 4.
It's 6 o'clock on Monday, the 10th of January. Good morning. This is Today with Sarah Montague and James Knox.
The headlines this morning. Labour MPs returned to Westminster today following the latest claims of hostility between the Prime Minister and his party. Mahmoud Abbas has been celebrating his election as...
Tony Blair will make a statement to MPs this afternoon on Britain's...
As usual, I got up, started my day, left my place at about 6:15 to go to work. It was a long street that I had to walk. Just before approaching the main road where I had to take my bus, I was stopped by a guy, but I noticed him a few cars before I came nearer to him.
Excuse me. Come on, this way.
Before I could realize, his right hand caught hold of my neck. At that particular moment, I heard a car, 2 doors shutting. Unfortunately, the door noise was his 2 partners, so in the end, it ended up 3 of them. And I was trapped.
Where's your money?
I don't have any.
Come on, open up the bag. What's he got in there? 35 quid. Is that it?
I think he could have sensed the change, so he just pulled it. It was my wedding ring, so I told him, it's my ring, my wedding ring.
I bet you pull all the girl nursery with that, don't you?
Oh, no, I'm married. Look, please, I don't have any money.
They say married men get itchy balls. If you don't have any cash, where's your credit cards?
I don't have any cards either. That's all I have.
Don't raise your voice at the men. Let's take him on a right of honour.
No, please. I only work round the corner. I'll walk.
We're not taking you to work, we're taking you to the bank.
I don't have any cards, I promise.
The man don't like being messed about. Do as you're told.
When he pushed me down to the road, and I was folding his legs and begging him, I was holding his boots, just crying. I was at his mercy. I knew what he wanted.
You will do as you're told.
I was on my knees.
He was then forced to have oral sex.
There you go. Don't say I don't give you nothing.
When he took my phone, he gave me back my SIM card.
The three men drove off in an old-style Peugeot 406, which was rusty brown in colour. The gang leader wore large brown cowboy boots, and they stole the nurse's bag, his duffel coat from Next, and his wedding ring, which he wore on a chain round his neck. Do you know anyone who's brought these home?
The moment they left, I came back to my room. I brushed my teeth again and again and again. I drank hot water. I drank salt water. I drank soap water. I thought I would clean myself. I could clean anything, but the memories haunt me down.
Well, leading the inquiry is Detective Inspector Glenn Lloyd. What a terrible ordeal for this man, Glenn. And let's be clear, it's not assault we're talking about, this is rape, isn't it? I mean, what can you tell us about the man who did it?
Well, the main attacker, the main rapist, he's a big black guy in his mid-30s to late 30s 6'3", 6'4", very powerfully built, very big hands, described as having big lips, very controlling, very authoritative.
He was clean-shaven as well, wasn't he?
He was clean-shaven, not only with the victim, but also with the two men that were assisting him. He was wearing a dark jacket, possibly leather waist length, dark jeans and distinctive cowboy boots. The reason we know they're so distinctive is the victim was on his knees begging and holding onto his boots, and this is where he's seen a snake-like design on the cowboy boots.
And what were they doing out at that time in the morning? I mean, we know our victim was going to work at, 6:30 in the morning. Would they have just been getting up, or they've been out all night, or...?
Well, it was the end of the weekend. Again, the main rapist was described as being very smart. I want to know, had they been at a party in the area? Had they been at a club? Had they been socialising with other people?
What about the car they were driving?
They were driving a Peugeot 406, believed to be a rusty brown colour, though the light that time of night with the street lighting can sometimes alter the colours. The age of the car between 1996 and 2002.
Now, of course, some of our victims' things were taken. This coat is, well, this is an exact replica. I just hold it up here, of the coat. So Next, it's a duffel coat really, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a duffel coat. He'd only just purchased it, so it was a very new coat. It's distinctive because it's got these toggles on the coat. It also had white, the victims described it as having white flecks in it, quite distinctive white flecks in the coat itself.
So someone might realise that suddenly turned up unexpectedly. Yeah. And then this phone as well, this is, again, it's the exact replica of the phone that was taken.
Yeah, a Nokia 6230, that was taken and the SIM card was thrown back at the victim.
As we saw, yeah. And what about the wedding ring? Because we know he was wearing his wedding ring around his neck on a chain, wasn't it? That was taken as well.
Yes, he was wearing a wedding ring. The ring itself had an inscription on the inside that ended in 98. I'd be interested to hear from anybody who's received this ring, be it in a pawn shop, second-hand shop, a stall or something. Somebody who's received this ring and recognises it, I'd be interested to hear from them who's brought it to them.
It had a precious stone on it as well,
It did. It had a ruby on it, yes.
Now, we saw at the end of that reconstruction there, the victim desperate, obviously, to just wipe away any traces, any memory of this appalling attack on him, rinsing out his mouth. I mean, one can hardly blame him, can he? But I guess if someone is in that position, if they can retain any of the evidence, that's what they need to do, isn't it?
They do need to retain the evidence. It's also, if they tell somebody as well, it's important for the person who's been told to actually remember this as well. If they can spit into a cup and save anything they can and not wash or whatever. I know it's very, very hard, it's very difficult because it's the thing you want to do most, but it can have a big effect on the investigation and us actually catching the person who's done this to whoever.
OK, well, Please help stop this happening to someone else. The victim in this case was so traumatised by this, he's considered taking his own life. Or perhaps you may have been approached by these two men. Maybe you're a victim of the rapist or of this gang. Please call us. It's free to call the studio, 0500 600 600, or ring the Incident Room in Willesden Green on 020 8733 3946. If you've been the victim of crime and you'd like to talk to someone, you can call the Victim Support Line. That's on 0845 30 30 900.
Operation Crackdown was launched recently by police forces across the UK to catch drug dealers. It's been immensely successful already, but tonight I'm asking for your help in identifying and locating these 12 suspects. Now, here are the first 4. This is Brian Tate, although he sometimes calls himself John Davis. He failed to appear in court to answer drug trafficking charges. He's lived in South East Essex area, but we think he may now be in Peterborough. Tate has a tattoo of a rose on his right arm, and at the time of his arrest 4 years ago, he was working as a plumber. Now, Basil Shaw was charged with crack cocaine offences but failed to appear in court. Shaw, who goes by the name of Bigger, was last living in Croydon but might be seen in the Earl's Court area of West London. He has a Jamaican accent and a scar in the middle of his stomach. Now, we don't know the real name of this woman, but she's been living in the Handsworth and Walsall areas of the West Midlands. Recently, she's had connections in High Wycombe and in Reading. She wears a nose ring and has heavily decorated fingernails, or at least she did until tonight. And Gary Robinson, he's from Leicester and has failed to answer bail. He's also lived in Sheffield and may use the name Andrew Kemp. He's known to go to nightclubs and has a pierced left eyebrow. 0500 600 600. If you recognise any of these faces, I'll have some more for you to look at later in the programme.
2 questions now. There may be innocent explanations, but why would someone carry a bottle of petrol onto a London night bus? And why would he sit at the back of a bus for an hour and a half as it went round in a circle?
Late at night, in fact in the early hours of Saturday the 13th last November. Look at the man at the back with the black Nike jacket. An hour and a half later, Simon Mackey got on the bus in Hendon.
After work, I'd met up with a group of friends in Colindale, had a few drinks down in a local pub. Quite often get the bus home. I do anyway. I get the bus home up to Edgware.
The CCTV shows on he got on with a group of people. We really need this group of people that he got on the bus with to come forward.
We don't know who started the trouble, but Simon approached the other man and a fight began.
He's not someone that goes around starting fights just for no sake of it. He would stick up for himself if provoked, but we just need to really find out what happened.
I remember feeling the splash of the petrol and just running straight down stairs on the bus.
I mean, it just seemed like slow motion, and next thing you know, I'm up in flames. Well, it's left me with my hand was badly burnt and my thumb is burnt to the bone, so that's taken a very long time to heal. Also got burns to the neck and my ear's going to have to be reconstructed.
Is sick. My brother wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for the fact that the bus driver had the decency to get involved. He had to put a coat over my brother while he was on fire, in flames, and spray him with a fire extinguisher, and we believe that that's actually saved his life, and he wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for it.
You could do it again, you know, and the person could be a lot worse off.
Well, was an innocent explanation for having that petrol? Who was the man who had it? Police really do need to hear his side of the story. If that was you, give us a call. If you were on that night bus, one of the people we showed there, or anyone else on that N16 3 months ago, you witnessed that, anything to do with that, if you know who the petrol man is, any of those things, give us a call, 0500 600 600, or you can call the Incident Room in Harrow. That's on 020 8733 3434.
It's just gone 9:20. Mobile phones have become a vital part of our lives, which makes them very desirable to thieves. In this case, they went to great lengths to lay their hands on almost £750,000 worth. First, they stole a lorry. On Tuesday the 4th of January, a driver was at a petrol station off the M6 near Wednesbury in the Midlands. While he was inside, his vehicle was driven off. It's since been recovered, but where was it between the 4th and the 6th of January? It has a blue Scania tractor unit cabin with a red trailer, registration V454LFR. 2 days later, on Thursday the 6th of January, an HGV loaded with mobile phones was being driven through Coventry in the rush hour. It was rammed twice from behind by the stolen lorry. When the driver stopped to inspect the damage, it's thought 3 men got out of the lorry. One of them jumped into the HGV with the mobiles and drove off, and the other 2 escaped in one of these. A two-tone metallic VW Golf with twin exhausts. It's a Mark IV R32 and it's very rare. The registration started with an S or W. And one of the men who drove off in the Golf is described as white, age 19, 5'9", 5'10", thin build, pale complexion, with a thin face and pointed features. He wore a baseball cap and a light fawn-coloured bomber jacket. The second man is white, about 25, stocky, with dark curly hair. Can you link either of them with a car like this? And the HGV that contained the mobile phones is still missing. It is a white Renault Privilege articulated lorry, registration S798TTW. If you can help, you could collect a reward of £60,000 for the arrest and conviction of all the men involved and the recovery of the phones. Now, they're quite distinctive, white ceramic Sony Ericsson V800s and 5000s. They've only recently gone on the market. If you are using one of these stolen phones, they can be traced when activated. 0500 600 or the instant room in Coventry on 02476 539 432. Now, with the latest on the call so far, here are Jonathan and Jeremy.
Earlier we showed the reconstructions of the jewellery robbery in Bamber Bridge. We had a number of early calls, and in addition to the 4 names already given, there's been a number of other names being put forward. Jeremy, what have you got?
Well, the calls are starting to come in. We're very keen to get information on who was responsible for the robbery and rape of the male nurse in Elmstead Avenue in Wembley last month. Remember, 3 black men, 1 very tall. The one in charge was very controlling. He was wearing brown, stylised cowboy boots. They were driving a rust-coloured Peugeot 406. So keep those calls coming, please. The studio number's on the screen, and if you're watching on digital satellite TV, you can email us directly through your remote control. Just press the red button on your handset and choose Crimewatch.
Still to come, the net is closing in on a serial rapist who's remained at large for 12 years. Help catch him tonight. Do you know the identity of this woman?
And who made off with one of these in the middle of the night?
Here's 4 more of those faces wanted for drug dealing for you to spot. If you know where they are, then pick up the phone. Gordon Lipscomb was found in possession of a large amount of ecstasy tablets. He was found guilty but failed to appear in court for sentencing. Lipscomb was living in Barrow-in-Furness in Cumbria, but it's known he's now in Amsterdam, where he's altered his appearance and may be living under a false name. Now, Courtney Anderson from Jamaica uses the street name Tupac and has been charged with supplying crack cocaine. We think he may be living in the Wellingborough area of Northamptonshire. Anderson has a tattoo of an eagle on his left arm and back. He's also got the names Martinet and Sharonet tattooed on his left arm. Now, we don't know this man's name, but we believe he's involved in Class A drug dealing in Humberside. He has a Liverpool accent and may be living there now. Who is he? And this man is believed to be coming from the same gang in Humberside. He's also originally from Liverpool, and it's likely he's living there again. Who is he, and where is he tonight? 0500 600 600 if you know the whereabouts of any of these men.
Now to the largest ever hunt in the UK for a serial rapist. The case has featured twice on Crimewatch before. It has become one of the longest running inquiries of its sort. It is Operation Minstead.
For over 12 years, in a swathe across the south of London, one man has been linked to a vast catalogue of crimes. At least 100 burglaries, indecent assaults and rapes. 4.5 years ago, he had a very active period, committing 4 sexual assaults in 3 weeks. In August 1999, he almost added murder to the score, a serious sex attack in Orpington.
It was about 11 o'clock. I'd had my hair done in the morning, and that evening there'd been a storm.
Determination did at least see his side through to lunch without further loss. England will...
Don't scream. I won't hurt you.
What do you want?
Money.
You got finally here. It's in the living room in my purse. My purse is there in my bag.
Give it to me.
Have it. Please, leave me alone.
Don't scream.
Please.
And I won't hurt you. I want to have sex.
Please, can't you go and get a prostitute? And then he raped me. I remember screaming, and then I must have passed out. Eventually, I crawled to the phone. But it was dead. He'd cut the line. I crawled to the alarm and pressed the panic button.
Rose's injuries were so severe, she needed 2 separate operations. She was 88.
This lady's lucky to be alive. If she didn't have a panic alarm, she could have bled to death. We know this man targets elderly women living alone in the South London area. His oldest victim is 93.
Originally, the offender seemed to be what psychologists call a gerontophile, someone who's sexually obsessed with the elderly. They thought the underlying motive for his burglaries was rape. But last September, new evidence emerged. It came from a break-in in Bromley.
Stay there. Where's your money?
The rapist revealed he was also a common burglar. Either that or he'd changed his ways, because this time he robbed, but without a sexual element.
Initially, we didn't think that this is our man at all. That's until his DNA was found on a glove near the scene. Previously, we thought we were dealing with a rapist, perhaps someone with a normal job. But could we be dealing with a professional burglar, someone known to the criminal underworld?
The following month, in October, he burgled again, this time in Greenwich. The victim was a retired school teacher.
I was born in my home, and with just 2 gaps, it has been my home for 79 years.
This man has a very distinctive technique. He plans these burglaries with meticulous care. We believe he may watch his victims for some time before the crimes. Before going to find his victims, he will cut the mains electricity, cover his face with a mask or a balaclava, and in some cases remove light bulbs.
Give me the money or I'll rape you.
I don't have any money.
I don't believe you.
I could not possibly combat this male, powerful figure physically. No way.
They get quite a lot of money for a passport.
So I had to deal with the problem mentally as best as I could.
It would be much better if you'd go.
We need to go downstairs.
Why do we have to go downstairs? It's the middle of the night. It would be much better if you'd just leave me alone and go home.
Show me what's in there. Could be interesting.
Why are you doing this?
I'm a professional burglar. I need to make money like anyone else.
You could get training, earn a living.
No. Government let me down. Who's that?
That's my son. I'm very proud of him. Would your mother be proud of you right now?
My mum's dead. She's been dead for 4 years.
I accompanied this person for 4.5 hours. He went through the entire house meticulously and calmly. The only light we had was the torch.
Do you have any scissors?
Why do you want them? I'm cold. I'm just in my nightie.
You could go back to bed.
If you think I'm going to leave you alone in my house, you're mistaken.
We could have sex.
Don't be absurd. You'd get no enjoyment out of it.
You're very calm.
Since the attack, I am not comfortable in the dark.
Stay at the top of the stairs and don't call the police.
If Poppy hadn't been such a strong character, I think there's every possibility that she would have been raped. We learn an awful lot from the crimes as they happen, and each one tells us a little bit more. Again, it's quite obvious that this guy enjoys the company of the elderly people whose houses he's broken into. He spends an awful lot of time there, but it's also quite clear that he is sexually attracted to them. He's demonstrated that he does have a more caring side while he's been in the house of some of his victims.
Here, drink this.
He's got them a glass of water, he's helped them up out of the chair. One of the most striking examples was an occasion not that long ago when, having been very aggressive when he came in, he ended up by kissing the woman on the cheek and shaking her hand before he left. Very strange behaviour for someone who is a burglar.
Something else that's very strange about him is the geography of his offences.
Normally, burglars offend very locally, so they don't have to travel far with stolen property in their possession. However, this man has spread his offences across south-east London. We have clusters around Croydon, Shirley, Orpington, Bromley, most recently Lee, and he has been out in Surrey to Wallingham. The fact that the offending has gone on in clusters like that would suggest that he has ties to each of these areas. Now, that could be that he's lived there previously, or he has family that still lives there, or he may have had friends or a lover that he's visited there a lot, or he may even have a job that's work takes him to these areas.
In many cases, our victims only got a fleeting glimpse of the offender, so building up a good description was very, very difficult. We knew he was black, in his 30s or 40s now, medium build and very softly spoken.
The police had had the rapist's DNA since 1992, but checks against the crime database had drawn a blank. Then came advances in DNA technology.
In early 2002, we decided to build up as much as we could know about the offender from science. Certain questions were being asked. One of them was, could we build up his ancestral background from the DNA that we already had stored from the offender?
The rapist's DNA was sent to a firm in the United States which matched his profile with those of different populations. It was the first time this technique had ever been used by police. According to the analysis, the rapist is 82% sub-Saharan African, 12% Native American and 6% European. The sample then went to Dublin to Professor Paul McKeague, the world's great expert in tracing where genes come from.
Professor McKeague indicated from these results that he was not of a pure African background, that he had two black parents. He came most likely from the southern area of Caribbean, Guyana, Trinidad, Tobago and the associated islands.
Most habitual criminals are also habitual liars, but maybe some of the things the rapist said are clues. Recall what was said at one crime in Greenwich.
I'm very proud of him. Would your mother be proud of you right now?
My mum's dead. She's been dead for 4 years.
At a recent burglary in Sanderstead in Surrey, he stole 3 items: a sovereign, a half-sovereign and a Krugerrand. And he also said why he wanted them.
I need this money to get to Brighton.
This man has been attacking the elderly for the last 12 years. But with these new leads, things at last are closing in on him.
There are clear periods of offending. Back in 98 and 99, he was very active. In summer of 2003, we saw a number of attacks, and at the moment we're in the busiest period of offending that we've ever seen.
It's frustrating. We know so much about him, but we need a viewer to make a connection. We have to catch him before he actually kills someone.
So how do we find him? I mean, at first sight, it is
a very tall order. There are 60 million people in this country. But of course we can discount more than half women, because that then takes it way down. We also know the rapist comes from South London, or at least has strong connections there. That cuts out 98% of the population. That leaves just over 500,000. We know, of course, he's black, and that brings it down to about 130,000. We also now know he has Caribbean ancestors. That takes us to 53,000, and we think he's in his mid to late 30s, or possibly around 40. That narrows it even more, so there you have the 6,000. And there's more to come. He's about 6 foot tall. That discounts all but 20% of men, so we're now down to 1,200. He has an athletic build, which cuts out everyone who's fat or skinny, so at very most, there are fewer than 1,000 people we're asking you to think about.
So just consider all the clues together that point to this extremely dangerous man. Who do you know who fits all this and goes out a lot at night, or at least is often unaccounted for at night? Then ask yourself, can he be articulate? Many of his victims commented on what a good talker he could be. And he seems to strike up easy conversation with old people in particular. There are other possibilities too. We're showing these in grey because they aren't known facts, they're just theories. Has he worked with elderly people? If not, why does he seem so at home with them? Did his mother die 5 years ago? Does he have Brighton connections? Does he go to older prostitutes? Detectives are anxious for people with even a shred of information to call in. Remember, police have a full DNA profile, so people can easily be eliminated. We can't let old people go on being attacked. If you know anyone who fits these descriptions, just give us a call.
We said earlier, in a burglary last month, he stole a sovereign, half sovereign, and a Krugerrand like this. Have you been offered anything like this, particularly these three together, by a man of the right description? Another clue is that he's known to wear Fila trainers like these. He's size 10, OK? Following another burglary last September, a glove like this, a Thinchlet glove, was recovered nearby. His DNA was found inside the glove, but also, intriguingly, there was DNA inside from a woman.
He always uses one of these mag light torches, and often his face is covered with a balaclava. It's the sort that's worn by motorcycle wearers under their helmets. Do these items, together with all the other clues, bring somebody to mind? And are there other victims who've not yet gone to the police? Do you know anyone who's been a victim of this man, either as the result of a burglary or rape?
Do please think hard about him. We've got DNA. It's easy, therefore, to eliminate people who aren't involved. This is such a serious inquiry. And if that's not enough to convince you, there's a £40,000 reward for anything that leads to his conviction. So if you remember the criminal fraternity, and you think you know somebody, perhaps someone who is a habitual burglar you know about, surely he wouldn't attack old women like this. Well, we can eliminate if it's not him. Just please give us that call. 0500 600 600. Operation Minstead officers are here in the studio, quite a few of them here tonight, and others are at their offices in Sidcup. That's on 020 7230 4444. And there's victim support line if you want to speak to anybody about an attack or any crime that's affected you. 0845 30 30 900. That's if you've been subjected to any sort of crime. And there's also advice on how to protect your home. That's on our website, bbc.co.uk/crime. And there's more on CFAX on page 621.
The time is about 20 to 10. We've had a lot of calls coming in so far. Some really good information which we're going to tell you about in a moment. The officers are all busy on the phone, so keep those calls coming in. And what about this? Do you recognise this face? It's the image of a woman whose body was found in Horton in Ribblesdale, close to the Pennine Way in North Yorkshire, on Monday the 20th September last year. She was partially clothed and decomposed after being in the water for several weeks. Detective DC Pete Elliott is leading the investigation. Pete, what do you know about her? What can you tell us?
She's aged between 20 and 40, 5 foot tall, medium build, slightly overweight for her height. She's of Southeast Asian origin, and she had pierced ears, and as you can see, she had dark-coloured shoulder-length hair.
What about her teeth? You see there's, in that artist impression there, you can see quite a gap there in her bottom teeth.
Yes, her teeth are in very good condition. There was no dental work on them at all. And as you can see, the gap there, if she smiled, people would recognise that gap, yes.
Now, we've got exact replicas of the clothes she was wearing.
Yes.
This blue and white stripy T-shirt, what, from Alibi?
Alibi, yes.
And then these M&S trousers.
That's right, the size 12 green M&S trousers. Now, these haven't been on sale for the last 18 months. They were not in the shops for the last 18 months, so they obviously purchased prior to that.
She was also wearing a ring. I mean, it looked like a wedding ring, didn't it? It was on her wedding ring finger.
It was a plain gold band. It was 22 carat gold band on her wedding finger, which, if she's a UK resident, it could suggest that, yes, she is married.
But possibly not. It was old gold. It could have been an heirloom,
It could well have been handed down, yes.
How did she die?
We don't know. There was no visible injuries on the body, and forensic tests are still being carried out to ascertain a cause of death. But at this moment in time, we don't have a cause of death.
I would imagine that a woman of Southeast Asian origin in North Yorkshire, in Horton and Ribblesdale at that time, she'd probably have stood out, wouldn't she? I mean, how can viewers help you tonight?
Well, it was next to the Pennine Way, hikers along the Pennine Way. A few weeks previous to the discovery was Horton and Ribblesdale Show. Did people attend that show? Did people see this person on the Pennine Way?
OK, well, it's really important this woman was identified. The number's on the screen, or you can call the incident room in Skipton on 01423 539 752.
Now's your chance to identify some villains caught on camera. They're wanted for robbery, deception and theft. Tell us their names, and even better, where we can lay our hands on them tonight. First, to Leeds, and a fight between two women outside a club in which one of them was seriously injured. We believe this woman had a knife or similar weapon, which led to the other receiving the injuries to her neck, chest and arms. Her attacker with the weapon needs to be identified. She's seen here going into the club earlier that evening. Who is she? Next, fraud in Stratford-upon-Avon. This man is in an Esso garage using a stolen credit card to buy petrol. We know that the card was amongst property taken in a burglary earlier that day. Can you name him? Now, armed robbery in Gloucestershire at a jeweller's in Bourton-on-the-Water. We want to identify three men. One of them goes up to the counter and sprays CS gas. Meanwhile, the other two use a crowbar to smash a display cabinet and steal over £3,000 worth of jewellery. Do you recognise any of them? Finally to Essex and theft of £20,000 worth of equipment from a BT depot in Basildon. This gang of men break into a compound and help themselves to 68 reels of telephone cable. Do you know who these two are? 0500 600 600 if you can help with any of these cases.
Now to our last four people wanted for drug dealing under Operation Crackdown. Audette Bailey is wanted for supplying crack cocaine. She was last living in Edmonton, North London, but look out for her in the Chelsea and Earls Court areas of West London. Bailey has a Jamaican accent and has the nickname Jade. On her back she has a tattoo of a heart with the name Floyd written in it. And Tony Kilrose, originally from Liverpool, but his last known address was in Derby, where we think he's still living. He's a Derby County supporter, so look out for him at supporters, pubs and matches. Paul Melliday was charged with supplying heroin and is also wanted by police in Derbyshire. Originally from Twyford, he's probably living somewhere in Derby. He also goes by the name of Paul Johnson and has a tattoo on his left arm. And finally, Staffordshire Police want to trace Mark Dunkley for the supply of heroin and crack cocaine. He's from Wolverhampton, but he's also got connections in Birmingham. Dunkley may also use the first name Junior. He has a scar on the left-hand side of his face and a deformed right hand. So where is he tonight? Please don't let them get away with it. 0500 600 600 if you can help.
Crimewatch has featured some extraordinary things that people have stolen over the years, but this must be near the top of the list. On Wednesday the 26th of January, an 18-foot horse-drawn Romany caravan, similar to this one, was taken from a farm in Steeple Morden, Cambridgeshire. It was dragged across 3 fields by several people before being loaded onto a trailer or lorry. Now just look at the size of it. Imagine hauling one of these through muddy fields in the middle of the night. The caravan in question was bought and restored by Emma Targett 14 years ago. But sadly, Emma died of cancer in December.
My sister Emma and I had always dreamt of having a gypsy caravan when we were little girls, and as soon as we were sort of mid to late teens, Emma started to look into trying to find one, trying to get one built. By the time we were 19 and a half, 20, the caravan was built and was home at the farm. The sentimental value of the wagon is enormous. My sister spent more than half her life designing and working and helping decorate the wagon. Everything about the wagon was her thoughts, her talents. Year after year we would spend many, many weeks sleeping in the wagon, sitting around the wagon. The children would play in the wagon all through the summer. It's irreplaceable. It's part of Emma. It's her identity. It was more her than anything else she owned. Short of taking her body away, they couldn't have taken a greater part of Emma. And it would just be truly wonderful to have it back.
Well, you can see the caravan means a great deal to Emma's family. There's another clue because the thieves left behind this hen house door, which means there would be a gap in the middle of one side of the caravan. Other special features are a brass door knock in the shape of a fox, a golden horse on the front door, and dog carvings on the sides of the caravan. If you know where it is, and there can't be many of these around, please call us in the studio or the Cambridgeshire Police on 0845 456 4564.
I'd like to start by telling you about the relationship with the male... Sorry. I'd like to start by talking about the relationship with the male nurse rape. We've had a number of calls talking about the value of the ring and where you can buy similar cowboy boots, but let's concentrate on the people involved. The gang leader was over 6 feet tall, very controlling, and drove a brown Peugeot 406. He was also with 2 other black males who referred to him as the man. Where are they tonight, Nick?
Well, I can tell you more on that, actually. A police officer has rung in with a name for the male rapist and is pretty sure it's him. We've had several people call to about a very, very strikingly similar attack in Glasgow, apparently in the West End of Glasgow. I don't know the status of that. One of them was a victim of this attack, and we have no idea if these two are related. It seems improbable, but it is possible. We've also had a caller who's 100% certain that he knows the man on the night bus who threw petrol over a fellow passenger. We've had a fantastic response on the night bus. It's far too many for me really to go through as yet, but we may be able to tell you a little bit more about that later on this evening. All the incident room numbers are on CFAX on page 621. You could see a reminder of some of tonight's cases and crime prevention advice too, and a lot more besides, at bbc.co.uk/crime. Our phone lines are open until midnight tonight, and then they open again tomorrow morning at 7:30 until midnight tomorrow.
Our next programme will be in 3 weeks' time, on Tuesday the 15th of March.
We will be back at, 10:35 with Crimewatch Update in England and Wales, Northern Ireland. Viewers in Scotland will have to wait until, I think, 11:05. If you can't join us then, remember the crimes we feature are very rare, so don't have nightmares on our account, please. Sleep well. Good night.
Good night.